Okay, I'm going to call to order this regular city council meeting of August 4th, 2025. Please rise to join me with the pledge. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Madam Clerk, may we have the roll call, please?
Law.
Present.
Obolinski is absent. Chess.
Here.
Sakach.
Here.
Nowak.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 4 is closed session report. We had no closed sessions. Item 5 is presentations. 5.1 is a presentation from John Muir Community Health Fund. And Jalissa Parham, she just walk in. Boy, that was good timing. Don't sit down. Just go, you want to go put your purse down, please do. Yeah, that doesn't look comfortable.
Okay, I was like, oh, traffic is gonna get me. But
Take a breath.
One.
It's okay.
Yeah. Good evening.
Evening.
I know what time it is. I think I have a PowerPoint. Great. Thank you. And then I'm just going to use this clicker. Okay, great. So my name is Jalissa Parham. I'm the Executive Director of John Muir Community Health Fund. So nice to be here this afternoon or evening. I'm going to share a little bit about the organization. So a little bit of background. So we were created in 1997 when the merger that created John Muir Health called for developing, funding an independent community health benefit nonprofit corporation. So they commit $1 million a year for us to do grant making. And it's really focused on improving the health and well-being of people with low incomes in East and Central Contra Costa communities. So some of our focus areas, so where we fund, so food access, economic mobility and dignity, healthcare, access and behavioral health, housing, education, and mentorship. And then also collaboration as well. And so how that looks in the areas that we fund is we really look at thinking about seeking systemic change in our grant making, building increased community capacity, supporting emerging organizations specifically. That's kind of our niche with that community capacity or capacity building, and then demonstrating representative leadership. So lifting up leaders that are representative of underserved populations in the nonprofit sector, and then also making sure that lived experience is there as well. So this is an example of some of the grants that we made in 2024. As you can see, it's in the different buckets that I just described. And so normally we make about 10 to 12 grants a year. And then here's a few statistics and our impact. And so through our grant making, we served over 5,000 residents. Our average grant size last year was 86,000. We did a lot of capacity building support, which looks a lot like things like fund development, having the organizations come together and learn how to collaborate. And then we also facilitate a lot of partnerships. So thinking about organizations not working in silos, how can they leverage the work that each of them are doing? And this is a pretty big number as well. So we do a lot of seed funding, so which means we're the first funder through the door. And so through our support, we were able to have our grantees leverage an additional $1.5 million. And so in the past couple months, we've been doing listening sessions with our grantees, and they had many things that came to the surface that they said are really important in this moment. So I'm sharing a few of them here in this slide. The most important ones, I would say, are they're really thinking about how to take care of their employees and themselves during this time. We have some organizations that have really become anchor institutions in the community. And so thinking about how they prevent burnout and keep their staff engaged in well-being and care, and thinking about flexible funding as well. So as a funder, occasionally we give general operating support, but a lot of the organizations are asking for that. So general operating support is this idea that you're really thinking about funding organizations as a whole and not just a program, and thinking about overall, how do their organizations mission aligned with what you want to see shifted in the community. And also, finally, I'll say is that they were really very adamant about that they're the experts in the field and what they do, and really wanting funders to recognize this in the work that they do. So I had 5 minutes, so I tried to do rapid fire as possible. So I want to know if there are any questions.
Are you guys hearing from people regarding, loss of Medicare and things like that? Is that coming to your organization for assistance in that area?
Yes, so that, and then also just lack of funding for the programming that they do. So, if you think about these organizational leaders that have to think, hey, what is my funding going to look like 1 or 2 years down the road? That's really not secure anymore, especially as they're trying to navigate this political climate, because they serve a lot of underserved folks. And so thinking about the language that they have to use, thinking about how do they present their programming and who do they serve, so they're not on the chopping block for potential funding cuts. So they've had to be really savvy, but it causes a lot of stress for them. And so they're really, I would say majority of them are really hitting the pavement and trying to find as many different funding sources, trying to diversify it as much as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
And, thank you for your presentation. I've really appreciated how the fund has committed to recognizing how health outcomes are impacted by racism and social inequalities. And I guess given the federal government's desire not to fund programs that emphasize diversity, equity, inclusion, I'm just wondering if you've had to pivot a little bit in terms of your support to organizations that you assist.
So we haven't pivoted. That's a great question. We haven't pivoted at all in terms of the organizations that we fund. We try to fund organizations on a 3-year time horizon. And so our commitment has been the same to those organizations. We recognize that earlier I mentioned that sometimes we're the seed funder, so they're first funder in. So if we pulled our funding, especially if they don't have any other funding sources, and that organization potentially doesn't exist anymore, which I might argue is depending on what service they're providing is a bigger risk. So we haven't shifted at all. It's something that we're aware of. We really keep that in the forefront of our mind, but the challenges within the communities that we work in partnership with have not shifted. So even if the political landscape has.
Anybody else? Yep.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for coming in. My understanding of this fund prior to your arrival was that, you offered grants to these various communities, but did I get it right that from what I was hearing there, that you also offer almost like domain expertise in terms of helping these organizations in terms not only of just giving them money, but help them kind of run their organizations as well?
So we do this thing called Beyond the Check. And so we give them grants, but we also help them with technical assistance. So thinking about what are the areas that they need to be successful in running their business. So sometimes it's a sustainability plan. Sometimes it's a business plan to think about what they're going to need for the next X amount of years. Sometimes, and I mentioned this earlier, is the diversifying their fund development and not just looking at grants, but how can they be savvy and obtaining funds in other ways. And so there's a variety of support that we give them, because the idea is hey, if we only give them funding, but we don't support them in other ways, their chances of being successful slightly decreases versus if we really walk in partnership with them and are responsive to some of the things that they need.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks. Thank you for your presentation. Just a couple questions. How do organizations apply for these grants through your program? It sounds like a really great program where folks, especially in the most vulnerable communities or organizations, would be able to tap into this type of fund.
Mm-hmm. So we're invite only, which means that they have to receive an invite from the John Muir Community Health Fund to then apply for funding. But we, on our website, there is contact information. So if they want to have a conversation with us or learn more about our funding, we're always happy to sit down with folks and learn about their work. And sometimes even if they're not necessarily right for funding in this moment, we try to potentially connect them with other funders that are doing work that they're doing. So it's a lot of collaboration, or even having them connect with other of our grantees to see if there's kind of some synergy there.
That's great to know. So just for the grant process in general, then is there like a metric or criteria or rubrics that you guys come up with, because it's an invite only?
And so there's the focus areas that I mentioned. I don't know how to go back on this thing. There's a one more. One more actually. Sorry. Thank you. There's a focus area. So these are the different areas that we provide funding for, and then on our website, there's kind of sub criteria of what that could potentially look like as well.
Thank you for that.
And we're updating our website right now, so if you look now, it's not the prettiest.
Yeah, and then for our for the public, can we have the website up there, or maybe if you can just kind of let folks know who are watching?
Yes, I would say the easiest way is to just put in Google John Muir Community Health Fund, and then it's the first one that pops up at the top.
Perfect. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Appreciate your being ready to go, right? You got
Thanks
it.
so much.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, next up, somebody from the other side, usually on this side of the dais. It's going to be on that side. Update from BART, Bay Area Rapid Transit District. Matt Wren, our former fearless leader, mayor before me.
I know. Do you need a fifth tonight? It's like golf. We need somebody to complete the group.
Yeah, we got to do a selfie first.
We need a
Matt.
selfie.
Myself before we go. Okay. Can do that. Thank you for obliging.
There we go.
There you go.
He is.
Of course. It doesn't happen unless there's a selfie. All right. Great. Thank you for humoring me there for a moment. It's definitely different being on this side of the dais, but I appreciate you welcoming me back and letting me give it an update on my new role as your BART director in District 1. Mayor Nowak, Vice Mayor Shess, and honorable council members, and of course, last but not least, Pleasant Hill City staff. Let me give you all the fun and exciting things that are happening in BART. And before I roll into the presentation, I just wanted to, on behalf of the BART family, extend our gratitude to Mayor Nowak and her leadership on MTC. As chair of MTC, when I was a council member, I've heard of MTC and I kind of understood what it was, but I didn't really know or appreciate how the regional transportation all ties together and how MTC fits into that picture. And I don't know if you ever had a conversation with Sue lately, if you can get in there, because she's probably so busy with her MTC stuff. It probably chews up a lot of her day, but she's really fighting to advocate to save not only BART, but all of Bay Area transportation. And whether it's Muni or, all the agencies coming together are struggling coming out of COVID, and MTC is really leading that charge in Sacramento and things like that. So I have a funny story. I ran into Sue in the halls in Sacramento. She was like, yeah, I'm up here. I'm talking to Senator Wiener. And like, oh yeah, we're talking to others. So it's really good small town that Pleasant Hill is well represented. So I just want to extend our gratitude from the BART family to you for your leadership there and what's going on. So Little fun facts about BART. So now you can go home and impress your friends.
Or put them to
BART
sleep.
is a 9-member board of directors. And I represent District 1, which is the best district, which is Central Contra Costa County. It's a 4-year term. District 1 encapsulates Pleasant Hill up into a little bit of Martinez. We go out halfway through Concord, all the way out to Clayton, down to San Ramon, all the way out to the Caldecott Tunnel, and then back up and around. So almost about 460,000 people in the district there. I think, do I have a clicker or you got me? Blink twice if I want next slide, or you want to just push it forward? Okay. All right, more fun facts about BART. I know a lot of you have seen this map before, but we have about 50 million riders last year. We're higher than that this year. There's a total of 50 stations that bridges 5 different counties, a total of 131 miles of track. And we are just receiving our 1,000th fleet car of the future. So we have all new cars. All the old cars have been replaced. So all the things that are running, if you've been on it lately, you can see a lot of those improvements, whether it's directional, more ADA accessibility, cleanliness. I know there's a lot of things that are nice and clean now. We try to keep that new car smell in them. So versus other things. Some fun facts about our Pleasant Hill Contra Costa Center Station. About last month, we had about 80,000 exits. We count people when they leave the system. So about 80,000 people exited the Pleasant Hill Station, and the most popular destination from people from Pleasant Hill using that station go to Embarcadero, which is a 38-minute ride. Next slide. What's new and exciting and happening at BART? Definitely service enhancements. With the new trains, they have better amenities, a little better spacing and more comfortable, especially with bikes. We're trying to get more people to ride their bikes, and there's a lot better space to store bikes and people to ride that. We're increasing our service on evenings, special events, and weekends. Our biggest uptick is on weekends. We do the deep cleaning, the rate of it. So there's much better cleanliness on those, like a deep clean with the soap and the water and everything. But we sweep the trains when they go end to end also. So when it gets to the end of the line, people will go through the trains. If there's anything in there, you're not supposed to eat or drink, but it happens. So we kind of keep it clean and updated. They get pretty used a lot. We also reopened all of our underground restroom stations. And we also added restroom and elevator attendants for our more, more problem issues where we're getting complaints about things that were happening in the elevators or in the bathroom. So we have those attendants who stay on top of that and keep it clean if there's a situation that arises. Rider satisfaction is its highest in the last 10 years. And then we have 80% of those surveys said they would you recommend BART to a friend? And 80% people said yes. So that's a good thing. What's happening? And I appreciate a few of you were at the Pleasant Hill Station where we did the ribbon cutting for the brand new fare gates. Really exciting for the system. If you have not had a chance to ride the trains, I definitely invite you to come back. There's greater accessibility. The technology in these gates, it'll know if you're like pushing a stroller through, it'll sense that the stroller's made it through. Or if you're going to an airport and you're dragging a roller bag, it can kind of sense that. Or if you're using a cane or other kind of walking assistance device, it'll sense that technology and then close the gates once it's clear. So that's nice to help with those situations. Unfortunately, there's a little loophole that some people have kind of figured out that if you shadow somebody closely, they try to follow somebody through. So they're not 100% foolproof, but we're trying to monitor the situation and how to get those fare evaders who kind of figured that little system out. So we have over 700 new fare gates throughout the system by the end of this year. And we have 44 of our 50 stations complete. And we hope to get the last 6. And I won't throw a county under the bus, but Sue knows where they are. Okay. All right, next slide, please. One of the things we heard from our riders and over the years is safety. People just felt like they didn't feel safe riding the trains, things like that. So now we have doubled our police staff in the station and on the trains. We also implemented modern policing techniques. So not only do we have our normal sworn officers who are trained in crisis intervention, but we have actual crisis intervention specialists, because a lot of times we found we were having issues with unhoused or maybe having mental health crisis on the train. Maybe it'd be a dependency issue. So we're able to bring in these crisis intervention specialists, similar to kind of like a core team that you here in Pleasant Hill, where it's a very humanistic approach where we want to get the people the help and the resources they need, because they're clearly not having a very good day, and they're in a crisis. So we're trying to avoid always having uniforms show up on the scene, which helps de-escalate some of the situations sometimes. And then we also have transit ambassadors too, which roam the trains to kind of spot anything that may be coming or something that would need our attention, and then we can get on the next station. So that's nice to go there. We put posters on how people to ride nice, behave on the trains. The yellow chairs you can see in there are for those who may need assistance or a disability, where they can sit there, or if the courtesy to someone who may be elderly and would prefer a seat and you're standing. We try to highlight those and we put those posters. And so we're trying to encourage better behavior on that, but by and large, it is getting better there. So, and then we met our quarterly goals for rider reporting, and police rides are down, and our emergency response times are improving. Next slide. All right. Some fun facts here, more stuff. Crime is down 17% in 2024. Security related customer service complaints have dropped 63% year over year, signaling improved perception of safety. So the people actually calling in. We also have an app on your phone called BART Watch. So people who may be afraid to call on the phone or do anything like that, you can actually just text from your phone. If you've ever ridden on a train, most people are in their phones anyway, so they never know it's coming from you. One thing we try to do is keep the trains rolling as much as possible. So we worked on delays where we've had to have police get onto the trains and escort somebody off. And then crimes against person per 1 million trips has decreased from 9.56 in the first quarter to 6.22 in the second quarter of 2025. So you can see crimes are definitely trending in the correct direction. All right, fun facts with graphs. Okay, it's kind of a hard graph to see here, but the gray kind of line represents Bay Area occupancy. So how many people are in office spaces in like San Francisco, Oakland, things like that. So you can see obviously by COVID, before 2022, there's that sharp dip of when a lot of those offices were vacant. You can see how ridership, the reason this graph is how it parallels office occupancy. So we did have you see a couple cyclical dips in occupancy, but our ridership kind of parallels that. And then just the fact is, work from home, we're all aware of work from home now since COVID. And a lot of people have full-time work from home or maybe hybrid, only go to the city 2 days a week. And out of that, 76% of the people that were riding 5 days a week have gone back to riding BART again, at least once a week, but it's not the 5 days a week that we need to. So next slide, please. All right, more colors and graphs. All right. No finance department here tonight. I thought they'd feel excited and show them all. But BART used to get a lot of its money. The blue is what we kind of need to highlight. So pre-COVID, fare box revenue, so whatever people tap their Clipper card, where we got our funds was almost 2/3. 558 million in 2019 came from Clipper cards. People clocking in and clocking out of the stations. Then obviously 2020, partway through the year, COVID hit in March. So that dropped to 399. Middle of COVID, it was only 91 million. And then it's kind of rebounded up. We're projected to be over 300 million this year, but there's definitely a gap. And that's where the green color right there, that's like what the city got here. That's our COVID funds or ARPA money that we got to support the transportation system. We did get some money from the state, which is SB 125, which is the light green you'll see in 25 and 26. That helps us bridge the gap to the red line. So we balanced the budget. The 25, we actually balanced 25. There's a $35 million deficit, but we made some cuts and efficiencies. And so we balanced this budget this next coming year, but 2026 is where we're really going to have a problem unless ridership comes back. Go ahead, next slide. BART, if you can see a lot of the different transit agencies, this is cost per mile, passenger mile. So you want to be towards the bottom of the list at $1.12 per mile. You go up to Maryland and it's like $10, and Washington DC is like $2.52. So the Bay Area system is actually run very efficient compared to other agencies out there. So our cost per mile is there, but BART started in 1972. So if you have a 53-year-old transit system, there are upgrades and things that need to be accomplished with that. So go ahead to the next slide. This is kind of the worst case Carmen Giddens scenario. And those, so what will happen is if we don't get those funds, it's really going to affect the regional economy. It's going to have just decreased access to employment, commerce, and education. We do get a lot of students on the system that ride in to and from schools. A lot of workers that don't have cars will take the system into the city and rely on public transportation. If you look at congestion, I know 24 and 680 is already pretty crowded, but right now we're probably a good 240,000 riders a day right now, and we're trying to get back up to high 300s. So you can just imagine over 200,000 people not on BART taking their cars on those freeways. It's going to be a bad scenario. Then obviously environmental impacts, driving emissions are 42 times higher than if you rode BART. And then also our communities who have inequitability is 47% of our BART riders report household incomes under 75,000. So it's disproportionate. It would affect our economically challenged communities harsher than the regular. So there's that effect too. And I know we talked about earlier about DC, but we need help here from federal and funds as well. So, okay, next slide. All right, SB 63. Sue, you want to talk about this one? I'm just kidding.
I'll correct you when you go wrong.
Yeah, correct me if I get off this one, but I know this is where you spend a lot of your time. MTC is really helping work with the legislation. BART has a support position on it. And this would be a sales tax, temporary sales tax, anywhere between 10 to 15 years. That's still kind of being worked out in Sacramento. Default rate would be a half-cent sales tax for the counties in the Bay Area counties, and some counties are still working on whether they're on board or not. San Francisco wants to do a full cent to help bail out their muni system, but this would help bridge that gap for us and really help. There you go. Next slide. Did I miss anything on that? Can't talk too much about it because it's, an SB thing, but well, that should be coming November of 26. So you'll hear more about it when we get closer and it kind of gets its final revisions out of Sacramento. But that's kind of what's happening when you hear about a potential half-cent sales tax and what's going on with BART to bridge that gap. Continuing to work on efficiencies and our operations on how we can streamline that to control our costs too. So we're kind of trying to bookend it, and hopefully by the cleaner, newer trains and more safety, that people will feel much more confident and say, hey, let's go to BART. It runs all the way to SFO now, which is great. And Oakland, a lot of people do that for traveling and you can hop in and out. And I'm happy to answer any questions you guys may have at this time.
Any questions? Go ahead. Councilmember Sakich.
Yeah, thank
Was
you.
for you or for your husband?
Could be both.
He's one of our frequent riders. He's always giving me feedback.
So we love riding BART, and thank you for your presentation. I never drive to San Francisco. I always take BART. So the question I get is, wow, the ridership is up. Can we bring back longer cars instead of, go back to the 10
10-car trains.
10-car train so I can get a seat? So I just
Yeah,
wondering
that's
what your thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's something that we monitor closely. What we call the yellow line, which is our line that runs from here to the city. We run the most frequent trains. They're a little smaller, just because unless there's probably about one or two trains that are at full capacity during rush hour, but most of the trains are, and we're running, 7-minute, 8-minute trains during those peaks. So it might be a little more congested at that, but by and large, the other lines, some were running like the Richmond line and stuff was like a 6-car train. And now we've moved it out to an 8-car train during those peak times because it was pretty sardine-ish, I guess, when we pack them all in. And so we monitor that data as it comes, but trying to be as efficient. When you add cars to the train, then obviously there's an expense to those things. So it's that fine balance of how many cars to run, projecting. It's almost like if you're in a restaurant, it's like how many, if you're smoking meats, how many ribs are you cooking the next day? You don't know, but you kind of have an idea of like what you guess. And so you want to have enough food for everybody. But sometimes there are those situations where it's not ideal. And I know like after a sporting event or, I hear the feedback too, like, hey, the Giants game came out and, the station was totally packed. Well, that kind of happens a little bit, but it'll filter through and the trains will come through. But that's kind of the way it goes. But that's good feedback. I appreciate that.
And actually, I think initially it was done because people felt safer with more people on the train. And luckily with our headways at 7, 8 minutes. I was going in the city the other day and I just waited for the next train and I could get a seat. So 7 minutes, 8 minutes wait was not too bad. So,
Thank you. I appreciate the feedback.
anybody else? Yeah, Councilmember Law?
Yep. Thank you for the presentation. That was really helpful to know about
Okay,
all the
happy to help.
improvements, especially because a lot of times people are hesitant in catching BART because of safety issues. And what I heard was BART Watch, where you can text on your phone. Is that like a text number?
It's an app, and so you can do it through the features. So you can even, I had a situation when I was running our corporate offices in Oakland, and so I was able to kind of take a picture. You know, you're not supposed to have loud music and things like that. And
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be the, yell, get off my lawn kind of guy, but I'm like, you're not really supposed to be, some of the performances are great. I get it. It's just where it is, but it was kind of, I could tell it was making people uncomfortable on the train. So I took a picture and then you can just send it right through the app and they're like, okay, what station are you at? And they're like, okay, cool. And then they came somebody on and the person saw them come in and they walked right off. So I'm able to do that and they didn't know it was me.
So it sounds like there's like a rapid response then, like.
It
so,
is.
yeah.
And all the new trains, I know there's a old folklore of the old trains, the cameras didn't work or they were fake cameras, but our trains are real cameras in live time. So they're able to monitor the situations as well.
Okay.
So that's helpful too. So Bart's watching.
And then may I ask another question?
Sure,
So
absolutely.
for the fare evasions, are there ticket officers on board as well? Because you mentioned earlier that people were figuring out how
Yeah.
to get through the fare gates by sliding through when somebody was walking through.
Yeah,
so-
it's a citation. And so usually they'll have to visually, the officer will have to see it at the gate. And so they'll be either inside the station watching the gates as people come and go through the gates. And then that way they will be able to cite them for fare evasion. They don't normally like sweep the trains. Like if you took a train in Europe or something and they want to see, tickets, or like you're riding Amtrak, they'll check your tickets once the train's rolling.
Yeah.
It's not a situation like that.
Yeah, I was just wondering how that would work because a lot of times people are using like Clipper cards now. And so how would you identify that someone kind of evaded fare, right? At that point in
I mean,
time?
they would just visually, the officer would visually see the person like walk behind me and them and just saw the one person tap through. They're able to go back and review the cameras if it's in question. So it's something like that. I'll let you guys in on a little fun secret, and
Yeah.
Sue may know about Clipper 2 and what's going on with that, but I don't have a date on it yet, but it's coming. I'll let you guys be the first to know. You'll be able to tap in and tap out without a Clipper card on a credit card. So like if you were coming in to visit San Francisco from outside the area, rather than having to get a Clipper card, you'll be able to use your Visa card, tap in and tap out and go through the system. And it should be all system wide. So I believe it's ferries and buses too. Sue, do you know about me? I don't put you on the spot, but
At least 22 of the 27 transit agencies should be.
so, and that's
on
my
it.
understanding is
That's
that you'll
great.
be able to just
Yeah.
use your card to.
There's
without-
not a date certain. Yeah,
No, date
But-
to be determined, but it is,
it's getting closer.
the ink is wet on the documents. They
Well,
just
it's
haven't
great
printed them.
because a lot of times people are like, how do I get a Clipper card?
Yeah.
And how do I have to process this, right? And so it's a little bit more efficient that way that you can do your credit card or you have your Apple Wallet. One last thing that I want to
and
ask.
if I could just close the loop on that
Yeah.
real quick. If you still want to use the discounts, like our senior discounts and our student discounts, it will be a Clipper card still because that way the system's set up to give you the discount. Because we do give 62% off for seniors and those with disabilities have another discount, students have discounts. So those would still be Clipper card based for now. But somebody who doesn't have a Clipper card, who just wants to ride from here to Embarcadero, you just Visa card in, Visa card out.
And it's pretty beneficial for anyone who is like coming to our city.
Yeah, you got
and
people
is
from
like
out
a
of town. You want-
tourist from out of
You're
town.
bringing family, friends, you're like, great, I need 6 new Clipper cards to take the whole family to the city.
Right.
So you could just be able to tap in and tap out, so.
So my last question is about the crisis intervention and the transit ambassadors that
Yeah.
you mentioned earlier. How often are they riding the trains and is it on a daily basis? How do we reach out to somebody like that if something were to happen? Would it be just through BART Watch or?
Yeah,
how
so
do
it's like
they-
through BART Watch or our gate agents. So if you go through there's always a ticket booth right next to the gates. And they'll be able to see somebody kind of in a crisis situation and they can call that in to say, hey, somebody does not look like they're having a good time right now. We may need to help them with some services. Or they may be disruptive in the station or the platform. So we can dispatch, the teams are there. So the teams are there all the time. We're looking to hire more, just like anyone in mental health services these days, they're a premium to try to find those who are qualified enough to help in these situations. So if you know anybody looking for a job, BART's hiring in those scenarios. But we also, they're very effective. So we can get them into the services. And, you know, if you've ever gone, and I'm not trying to dog any city, but if sometimes you get off in San Francisco or Oakland, it's a different experience when you get off the trains and start going out and you can see different things happening. And so there's a bigger need than a lot of those systems can support. We just want to try to get them in the help that they need at that time. So,
Well, thank you for that.
no problem. Good questions. Thank you.
Additional questions? No?
All right. Oh, okay. Good. Thanks, Zach. I'm like, oh, Shess is going to give me, but I'm just
No.
kidding.
I think I just want to note
Yeah, go
on
ahead.
SB 63 that it is for sort of all the big four transit services, Caltrain, BART, Muni, AC Transit, and then the East Bay operators in additional are getting funding or would get funding through this measure as well. So it's not just a BART related. All the transit agencies are having the same issue. And,
Thank you for
and they're all interrelated. So it's really important that, that we get this measure done
Yeah.
at
I
some
know
point.
you'll be happy when that day is done.
Yeah.
And we appreciate your leadership on that. And yeah, it's interesting how small world it is
Yeah.
out there in the world when you go other avenues and things. I'm like, oh, we're meeting with the chair Nowak of MTC. I'm like, oh, good to see
Great.
Sue.
Know
you know?
her.
So appreciate that and appreciate all you guys do here in Pleasant Hill. So
Yep.
thank you so much.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Matt. Okay, next, 5.3, we have our exciting regular update on the police department roof repairs. And
It is exciting. We're substantially complete. Good evening, Mayor Nowak and council members. So tonight I'm going to be giving our update on the police department emergency roof replacement project. You may recall back in April, in the CIP, we currently had a roof replacement project that was on the books. In 2018, the city council hired an outside company to do an overall facilities repair of all our buildings, and the roof at PD had reached the end of its useful life. So fortunately, we already had that project as an approved project in the CIP. That project was slated to be a re-roof, however, to give us another 20 years. If you look at that picture, you can kind of see the overview of what the PD roof looks like, the picture on the left. And then on the right-hand side, you can see it's a gravel rooftop, right? That is actually gravel that had to be shoveled off the roof before we could tear it down. In April of this year, the police department suffered from a termite infestation on the second floor above their investigation unit. It's a 24/7 facility, so we were not able to tent the building and send everybody home. They had to do, a spot fumigation. And while they were doing that spot fumigation, they pulled down the ceiling tiles and the lights above the investigation roof and determined we had some infestation in the roof sheeting. So consulting with the chief building official at that time, termite spread. And so it was his opinion that we needed to immediately take care of the roof to make sure that we could abate the termites quickly and effectively. So we came to you in June, on June 2nd, and asked you to declare this an emergency project. Because we went from a re-roof to a total tear off and put back, we asked for the transfer of available Measure K funds as well as the re-roof, and we awarded the project to State Roofing at that time. Matt hit the clicker. So just a little background, we talked about most of this, the termite infection, building inspection, CBO, the city council declaring an emergency on June 2nd, and we did award the contract to State Roofing. They spent the first 2 weeks of June ordering the materials that we needed for the roof, and they actually started taking the gravel down in buckets actually the last week of June. They got the roof deck cleared and they ripped off the first layer, and we actually had the termite company come back on July 3rd. They did a full inspection of the roof and gave us the go-ahead to move forward. We consulted with the chief building official. He was on board. The building inspector was as well. So the project went full bore. Those are just some construction photos, the new plywood, and just some fun stuff. So The project right now is substantially complete. Remaining work is minor punch list work. We need them to go back and flush out all the downspouts, all the drains, make sure there's no construction debris blocking up the downspouts. We have the manufacturer's final inspection set up for August 6th, which is Wednesday. And then the building division inspection will happen right after that. And I anticipate bringing this item back on August 18th to end the emergency and have the city council accept the project. I did meet with the building inspector today to confirm with him that he has no punch list items except the downspouts. He was on site for the entirety of the project. We went over his full set of photos. So I'm happy to report that the project went well and termites are gone, new roof is on, and we now have a roof that will last quite some time because this roof can be the roof, if we need it later, that would get the re-roof because we had to tear it all the way down. So if you look over to the right, there's no gravel on the roof anymore. That's the new roof deck, new roof decking on the photo over to the right. So just to go over the budget really quick, the approved budget in the CIP was $300,000. The construction contract with State Roofing was for $507,780, and that was to tear it down and rebuild the roof. We were $207,000 over budget, and we asked the council at that time to give us a 10% contingency. So the good news is we didn't need any of that contingency money. We were able to complete the work for the $507,780. So as we talked about in the staff report that came before you in June, that $50,000 is going to be going back to the Measure K Bike and Ped Fund, where it came from. So we have returning funds coming back. And those are just some overall photos for you guys to look at the new roof. They did a really nice job. It's going to last us quite some time.
Great. Looks nice.
Yeah.
Not that we'll ever see it again unless we go up to the roof.
Well, they got a couple nice decks up there. You never know.
Yeah, I was
We
about
might
to
want to
say.
go hang out up there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it looks like a spot now that you can actually like have a barbecue or something now instead of the.
We'll have to
grill.
check in with
But maybe not, just because it's a new roof.
If I might interject a little bit, I want to express my appreciation for City Council approving this. The workers, so one of those decks is where my office is, and I would be there in the air conditioning while they're out scraping up the gravel, shoveling it off, tearing up plywood, putting new material on. And I did feel bad because here I am at a desk, air conditioning, and they're out there on top of a roof in the middle of summer. And then lastly, Ann Jameson city staff, this started in April and it is wrapped up at the end of July into August, and that's remarkable. Right before the raining season. And lastly is our roof was already leaking every winter. So this is turned out to be a really good fix for the police department. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay. Any questions? No? No?
All right.
No?
Thank you.
Thanks, Ann.
Thank you, Ann.
We'll move on to item 6, city manager's comments, and ask Ethan Vindernagel.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and good evening, council members. A couple of quick announcements for you. Speaking of the police department, tomorrow night, August 5th, the police department will be hosting its annual citywide event, its National Night Out event, right here at City Hall from 6 to 8 p.m. The National Night Out is, of course, an annual community building campaign. It promotes police community partnerships and camaraderie, and it helps to make our community and our neighborhoods stronger and safer and more enjoyable. Everyone is encouraged to come out and join Chief Vermillion and the rest of his staff for this great annual event. Again, tomorrow night, 6 to 8 p.m. here at City Hall. Speaking of great annual events, the community is reminded to save the date for this year's second annual Bike Family Fest, Sunday, September 14th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Pleasant Hill Library. This was held first annual event last year. Actually, he's no longer here, but former Mayor Wren was instrumental in starting this. It's a super fun event, free community event. It'll have many activities to promote bicycling for kids of all ages, including a bike course. There are some other demos. There's a bike check. There's music and food trucks and a raffle and much more. And you can find more information on the city's website in the near future. That's www.phillca.gov. And then lastly, speaking of children and bikes, as many families with school-aged kids know, and I'm among them, This Wednesday, August 6th, is the start of a new school year for MDUSD. And that means that more children on bikes, on foot, et cetera, will be out and about. And there'll be a significant increase in vehicle traffic as well throughout the area as kids are dropped off and picked up from schools and campuses throughout Pleasant Hill. The police department reminds motorists and bicyclists to observe the posted speed limits and to please obey all traffic signs, especially in those heavily congested school corridors throughout the city. The police department will be out there this week to keep an eye on things, make sure that everyone falls back into their routines in a safe, orderly manner. That concludes my comments. Happy to yield any questions.
Any questions? I would just suggest you bike to that bike fest because it was packed last year. I mean, it was a very successful event.
Agreed.
And they have a lot of, an area for bicyclists to leave their bikes if they want to walk around. But I would suggest, because I made the mistake of driving my car and had to walk quite a ways. So anyway, just wanted to add that. And just want to ask the chief on with the e-bikes and stuff out there, or is that something you guys are going to be keeping an extra eye out?
Yes, we've been doing a lot of social media messaging. We've been doing enforcement. For the biggest thing we should invest with this particular issue is education, because a lot of people don't know the laws, the rules. A lot of people believe that even the e-motorcycles are street legal, and they are not street legal, and that's where we're seeing some of our problems.
Okay, thank you. Before we move on to the next item, I want to make a correction to item 4, which is the closed session report. We did have a closed session on July 8th regarding our existing litigation, but we have nothing to report out for that. So just wanted to make that correction. Thank you. Thanks, Lyon, for bringing that to my attention. We'll now move on to item 7, which is council announcements and reports. First, 7.1, reports from council members on meetings or conferences attended at city expense. There was a mayor's conference in Brentwood on July 10th. July 10th. Any council members want to report on that? It was so long ago now, I don't even remember the topic of the conversation.
I remember. So the DA was
Oh, the
there
DA, that was right.
and reported on what her office was up to, statistics and that type of thing. Yeah.
Okay,
Good
any
presentation.
Yep, thanks. Thanks for remembering, because it's been a while since then. Anybody else with meetings at city expense? Okay, we will move on to announcements from council members. Amanda, you want to go first?
Sure. Okay, well, in addition to seeing some great music like The Uninvited and Blues and Brews, I had the pleasure of attending the 60th anniversary of the Older Americans Act at Los Medanos in Pittsburgh. The Older Americans Act funds programs like Meals and Wheels, senior centers, legal assistance for seniors, basically ensures that seniors can age at home and in their communities. Also just wanted to report that I attended the League of Cities webinar, Crunch Time of the Capitol, about legislation that will impact cities. That was a very interesting presentation. And then finally, I'm a director on MCE, and I wanted to report that due to the increased costs of energy generation, the MCE board approved a rate increase to its 100% renewable energy program, the Deep Green program. The premium will increase from 1 cent per kilowatt hour to $1.25 per kilowatt hour effective October 1st. And that'll be an average total electricity bill increase of 0.6% for residential and commercial customers. Again, that only affects Deep Green customers. The Light Green program is not affected. Finally, MCE would like to remind folks that all the clean vehicle credits will end as of September 30th. So for vehicles acquired after September 30th, including previously owned clean vehicle credits and new vehicles and commercial clean vehicle credits. Yeah, that's all.
Okay, thank you. Vice Mayor Chess?
Let's see, prior to the Brentwood Mayor's Conference, we attended a chamber mixer. I think at least 3 of us were there.
Yep.
And then in addition to that, yesterday attended the concert here at the lake. That's it for me.
Councilmember Law?
Yes, it's been quite some time. I did attend the Blues and Brews Fest as well as the summer concert by the lakes. What I really enjoyed was the fact that they had a kid zone for both areas, and it was just great to see all the families out together. I did want to mention that we do have a climate action plan planning process workshop that's coming up on Wednesday, August 13 from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. You can also find that information on our website. Also, another option is if you can't make it that day, you can also come on Saturday, August 16th from 10 a.m. to 11:30.
Okay. The only thing I've got to add is attended the East Bay Leadership Council installation and awards night that night, which was great to see. Quite a lot of Pleasant Hill residents there. And that was always a lovely event. They do it annually to install their new chairman. Okay. We'll move on from there. Item 8 is public comment. The public is welcome at this time to address the City Council on items on the consent calendar or other items not listed on the agenda, but within the council's jurisdiction. Comments are limited to 2 minutes per speaker. You may provide comments by giving a speaker card to Lyon at the dais. And Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment?
I have no speaker cards.
Okay. Then we will close public comment and move on to the consent calendar. Consent calendar, all matters listed under consent calendar are considered by the council to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate council discussion of these items unless requested by a council member prior to the time council votes on the motion to adopt. Anybody want to pull an item? So can I have a motion to adopt the consent calendar?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. May we have the roll call vote, please?
Law,
Yes.
Chess,
Yes.
Sockotch,
Yes.
Noack,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the action calendar, which we just have one item, 10.1, which is to adopt a resolution declaring a public nuisance due to the presence of weeds and ordering the abatement of the same property on the property located at 319 Gloria Drive. And Troy Fujimoto is going to make that presentation.
All right, thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. This item, as you noted, is a request for City Council to essentially to request City Council to make a determination or a declaration of a public nuisance due to continued noncompliance for weeds at 319 Gloria Drive and to order an abatement on that property. The nuisance description is essentially unabated hazardous weeds, essentially weeds that have become overgrown on the property. This case, approximately 3 feet tall in the front yard. Just as a general reference, fire district considers anything above 3 inches to be a fire hazard, in addition to it being having a negative visual appearance on the property and the neighborhood. Next couple slides would just be some background. It's in the staff report, but I just wanted to summarize it. So complaints on the property have started since 2023. There's been multiple notice to abate and show cause letters, notices that has gone out to the property owner. Those went unclaimed, unaddressed. City then moved to do administrative citations on the property owner. Multiple occasions. One was attempted to be paid, but it came back from the bank. And then there was continued outreach by the city to remedy the property condition. While we were going through this process, and it was a somewhat lengthy process, to better address this type of situation and other similar code enforcement issues, the city adopted a new ordinance. It established a new process modeled by the fire district. It's hoped that this process would be more cost-effective and streamlined than a court-ordered process, which was the process we had previously, and costs could be recouped through property tax assessments if necessary. And you might recall we did adopt that ordinance ending of last year, early this year. While that was going on, the city continued to receive complaints against the property. City started essentially the new process that was adopted by City Council. And as part of that process, due to continued non-compliance, we did do another notice to abate or show cause, continued unresponsive or unclaimed mailings. And so with that continued non-compliance, the city then provided notice for this current City Council hearing as part of the adopted new ordinance. This is a parcel map. It just shows in general where the subject property is, Gloria Drive, you can see here. This is an aerial map if you're into that. And then the next couple slides are essentially some previous versus existing site conditions. Left is previous, it's cut. Weeds are cut at an appropriate level. And the next couple slides will show kind of the overgrown condition. Close-up measurement if you don't think it's actually as tall as it is. And then just more continued examples of the site remaining out of compliance. Last set, you can see when it turns green, it's not much of a fire hazard, but then the problem is when it dries out, then it does become a fire hazard. So we've had a couple of seasons where it's cycled through that. So we are here this evening as a public hearing before the City Council. It's necessary as part of the process, as I mentioned. As part of this process, we have this hearing to allow the property owner to speak concerning the issue. We did provide notice, as we said, and then hopefully at the end of the public hearing, the City Council will provide direction as noted in the attached resolution. Some findings, just in summary, staff has made numerous attempts to contact the property owner. There's been no response, no action to remedy the situation, other than the property owner trying to pay one of the citations. And with direction from the City Council, next steps will be to work to remedy the weeds will be completed. Essentially, city go out there and it will abate the weed situation. The property owner will be invoiced. And if that invoice is not paid within 30 days, staff will return back to City Council to request the cost of abatement be made a lien against the property, essentially put on the property tax rolls. With that, staff recommends City Council adopt the resolution, declare a public nuisance, and order abatement of the same. With that, if you have any questions, I also have our code enforcement officer here. If you get too technical with me, I can bring them up.
Okay. And I believe the resident is not here.
I don't think so.
Okay. Just wanted to check. So questions from council? Yeah. Councilmember Law?
Yeah, may I ask a question? Because I noticed that this first started out in 2023, so it's been like a 2-year time frame. So I'm wondering if we had some sort of, at least policy in place to say, okay, there's 180 days that we would allow for the owner for whatever reason, financial reasons that they couldn't actually take care of this on their own. But rather than keeping it go on for almost 2 years, I know looking at the information provided here was that our code enforcement officer did try to make contact on several occasions, but did we also try to do like a well check? Have we been able to get in contact with the owner? Could there be other reasons as to why we're unable to connect with the owner?
I think we have tried with the avenues we have available to try and reach out to the property owner. We have heard from, because there were complaints, we've heard various information from those that have complained about what's going on with the property owner situation. The city doesn't necessarily want to overstep its boundaries. We try to do all the noticing that we can to reach out, whether it's mailing, whether it's posting. The time frame, as you noted, the city doesn't, or at least city staff doesn't generally come in and swoop down, if you will, on code enforcement actions. We do like to work with the property owner or the offending party to gain compliance. I think generally we've been successful. Are we the most quick to get that response? Not often, but I think getting compliance with the way that we do it is much better than to come in heavy-handed. And that also helps to allow property owners, in case there are financial issues or if there's maybe vacations or medical or whatever it is, it gives them the opportunity to resolve it in their own manner. And we find that that works better. But I couldn't tell you in this specific case whether we did wellness checks. If it's reported to us that there is a very good reason for it, I know in the past we have done wellness checks in cooperation with our police department. But in this case, we haven't really heard that. What we know is that we have an unresponsive property owner. It's not the first time we've had an unresponsive property owner in our code enforcement travels with the city. But there hasn't been necessarily a reason to believe that the property owner has concerns that the city should get involved with, I guess, at this time.
Yeah, I just asked that question because, I mean, I would think that the first time when the person sent the check and it bounced back, you know, it could show some sort of financial strain that the person may be having. Again, you know, this is a fire hazard that can impact the rest of the community and the environment around there, especially what you mentioned there at 3 inches and above can be a fire hazard issue. So for future, I guess, possibilities for something like this to happen again, perhaps we can think about maybe putting a 180-day notice rather than spreading the length of time to 2 years or so and continuing to contact the owner over and over again and not getting a response even to this date, right? And if there was a fire to have happened, it could have impacted the rest of the community within the area. So that's just.
That was why the new ordinance was put in place, part of that, right?
Correct. The
Yeah.
old ordinance is more involved and lengthier.
And I think that was before my time, so I don't, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was the end of last year that was.
And there are situations, and each situation is different. I don't know if we could establish a policy that could apply for every situation. This was a unique situation. There's other situations where even 180 days may be pushing it. If we get someone that's compliant, in this case, because the property owner wasn't responsive, it made it difficult for us. We also, 2023, we cycle through rainy seasons. When it rains and everything turns green, the fire hazard is diminished. And, we don't know what's going to happen in year 1.5 and year 2. We hope that once we get back to the dry season, that they will then be responsive. Doesn't always work out that way, but there has been, the weather is the weather. And so it does self-remedy it in some way. And so we then hope that in the next season that we can get them to comply. It didn't happen in this case, and that's why we're here this evening.
And with that in question then, so let's just say we adopt the resolution and we move forward with the process. What is the financial impact, or would you be able to have that information or some sort of estimate at this point in time for what that would be for the city to do the abatement, the forced abatement, and then how that would impact the owner itself thereafter?
For cost purposes, that's hard for me to say. We haven't done one. We did one under the old scenario, which isn't really relevant anymore. So for me to say that probably wouldn't be appropriate. I imagine it wouldn't be as much as if you were to call someone to come and trim your weeds. There's a process involved. So it is going to be more costly than if someone were to just come out and do it.
Right.
It will affect the property owner because the property owner will have to pay for it. If they can't pay for it, as we know, it will come back before the city council and you can provide us direction to record it against the property tax. If that happens, then it will be paid as part of the annual property taxes that you and I pay on an annual basis.
Okay. Well, thank you for that information.
Questions? Councilmember Slackus?
Yeah, so thank you for this presentation. This is in my district, and I've talked to the neighbors in this area, and some of the neighbors have told me that they have knocked on these property owners' house. It's a very friendly neighborhood, and they've offered to assist with getting these weeds removed, and they've been refused. So I think it is a fire hazard, and I do think it's time to take care of it. My question is, how often do these weeds need to be cut? So if you go down and cut them now, are you going to be having to come back, I don't know, every couple months, or if they continue to not cut them in the future?
In general, and Luke can correct me if I'm wrong, but once we get out of the rainy season, it just doesn't rain. So if you cut it, at least for the period of the dry season, there shouldn't be any other maintenance. But once we roll back into the rainy season again, it will start to grow. And so at some point, probably late in the rainy season, it will be of that height. And then once it starts to dry out, you'd have to cut it again. It's kind of what the fire district does when they do their, they require large property owners to disc their properties, and I think it happens once a year? Once a year. So probably if you do it now, you wouldn't have to hit it if you don't maintain it until maybe late in the rainy season next year, is my guess.
Any other questions? You have
Can I
another
just
question?
ask a follow-up question to that? So that would mean that if we did do the force abatement and this did grow back again, the city again would possibly have to go back in and do the same thing.
If they do not, hopefully there's a learning curve that
Yeah.
maybe happens, and maybe this is the learning curve that's needed for the property owner to maintain their property. But to your point, if they don't do anything again, we may find ourselves back here again.
But it would be placed on the owner for the property tax that
Mhm.
they would have to pay anyway.
Yes.
So, yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
Vice
Hi.
Mayor Chess?
Yeah, thank you. Couple questions. I was reading this the other day, and then I was thinking, and then we started talking, and I kind of went through real fast, trying to figure out, is this just the front yard?
We are requesting the front yard. The backyard gets a little tricky because, and Lou can once again correct me if I'm wrong, but if we start going into the backyard, it does add another layer that we need to do in terms of weed abatement. But this request is just for the front yard to abate. Now, if we abate and we start seeing things happening in the rear yard, we may have to pursue a different process to get the backyard remedied.
So that you couldn't do like a visual inspection of the backyard, or?
The attorney would like
So
to
you're saying-
Janet's going to
Okay.
comment on this.
Hi.
Thank you.
So this is in the public view, and this whole area is available to do weed abatement on. The backyard, if it's enclosed, is private, and we'd need a warrant to go in there.
Okay. I had a feeling. Yeah, but thank you. And then can you just walk me through the process of how this happens? I mean, does or do we contract with somebody? Does law enforcement just aware of the situation? So in case something gets, there's a little situation or something, they know that our staff or our contracted organization is there. If you could talk a little bit about that.
You mean going forward from this point on?
Well, if somebody goes in to cut the grass down.
Yeah.
That the police are involved or aware of that, obviously Lou is an officer as well, but that they're there in case the neighbor, it's a situational problem.
Do we, if we say go for it, and then do we give them like, hey, we're going to be there, do we give them a courtesy notice? Hey, we're going to be there on Tuesday at 8 a.m. and
we
you're gonna have
do
the staff in
to,
your-
we do have to notice
Okay.
the property before we just do it. We don't
Right.
just show up
Right.
and just take it down. We provide them notice as to when we're going to do it, and then we come in and do it. And then after we're done, we then look at our invoices. We send them the invoice. We give them, as noted, 30 days to pay the invoice. If they don't, we then appear back before you to request to put this on their property tax.
Thank you.
I have a follow-up question for Janet, actually. I have a question about so for the warrant for the backyard, it's actually two-part question. One for Troy and then the other one for Janet. Troy, do we know if there's weed growing in the backyard from the aerial view that we have right now?
The aerial is tough to see, and we are not, it would be
Privy to
against
that.
the law for us to kind of tiptoe over a fence and
Right.
look into.
But it's
the
not
property.
grown to the point where you can see it over
Uh,
a fence or anything like that, that's reaching over to a neighbor's area.
There may be some evidence of it starting to get there. We'd have to go back and take another look. But really, that's the only way we can see it, is if we can see it, say, from the public right away, and it starts popping up over a 6-foot tall fence. Then we
Okay.
know that it's getting tall.
And then, so my follow-up question for Janet is about the warrant that you mentioned too. The reason why I'm asking this question is because if we are doing the weed abatement in the front, in the public view, but there's also overgrown fire hazard that's happening in the yard in the back as well, it doesn't really necessarily alleviate the fire hazard that could happen in the front or the back. So I guess my question for you, Janet, is when you mention about the warrant, or maybe this could be something for Chief Scott Vermillion, Is that something that the city can do at this point in time? Because we are going to probably, if we decide to move forward with the resolution of adopting this as declaring that as a public nuisance and
Well, we can, yes, we have to go to court to get a warrant, and that's something that I do, but in this particular case, it's usually easier, faster, less expensive to abate the immediate nuisance in the front yard. And only if you can see from public right-of-way that there is something going on in the back, then you have to get an inspection and abatement warrant. And you ask a judge to give you permission to go and inspect to see how bad it is, and if it needs to be abated, you come and do the same process here, but you have an abatement warrant from the judge allowing you to go into, I'm assuming there's a gate. It's a fenced yard. If there's a gate, you need to be able to get into that. The property owner is noticed. There is always at least a 24-hour notice placed before any abatement is done. But this is a mechanism that we enacted to do, you can do multiple properties at once here. And you can't, it's usually considered an easier, faster, quicker way of doing this. It's less expensive for the city because of my time and getting a warrant. And so this is viewed as satisfactory for at least the front yard. And we don't have information about the backyard quite, until it starts coming over the fence.
thank you for that.
Hopefully with this whole process in the front yard and billing them, they will maybe do a better job on their backyard. So let's hope that's the case. Okay. Is there public comment at this point? Do we have any public comment?
I have no public comment cards.
Okay. We'll close public comment. And is there a motion?
I will move that we adopt item 10.1.
I'll second it.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Can we have the roll call vote, please?
Law,
Yes.
Shets,
Yes.
Sakach.
Yes.
Excuse me, Noack.
Yes.
Sorry, motion carries. Pardon me.
No problem. Great. Then we'll move on to item 11, which is adjournment. There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned to a regular city council meeting scheduled for Monday, August 18th. Thank you and good night.